WCRS studios in Greenwood, South Carolina, this is Meet Me at the Diner with your host, Ann Eller.
We are right here at WCRS. We can do stuff right here. And are you on the radio? And yes, check. We are on the radio. Are we on Facebook Live? Yes, check. We are on Facebook Live. Do you have your guest with you today? Yep, got my guest, Dr. David Sollish, here this afternoon. I think I said it right. He told me to say it's like polish. Sollish, polish. There you go. Dr. David Sollish. He is the director of our local production of Bright Star. He has an interesting background. He is actually the chair over there for theater at Anderson University. And how are you doing today, David?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. It's exciting to have a production coming up and all the angst going right into it as you get close to the end. How's Bright Star coming together?
It's going great. We open soon.
Friday night.
Friday night.
That's right, Friday night. And, Bright Star is one of those shows that should be really on the tip of everybody's tongue, but unfortunately it's not.
Yeah, that's very true. It opened on Broadway in 2016 and did okay, then made its rounds into the regional theater, and it has a really good reputation among theater people, but the public doesn't know a whole lot about it.
Right.
And it's a fun show. It's one of the most fun times I've ever had on the stage as an actor.
Well, and you were in it. Mm-hmm. Where did you perform it?
In 2019, I did a professional, a union production in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, at the New Stage Theater. And I played one of the fathers in the show, Daddy Murphy. And just a good old time. Country and bluegrass music and the comedy wit of Steve Martin, and just a fun time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the other thing. When you say, and Steve Martin wrote it, they go, what?
Yep.
Right. And the banjo just adds so much to this, doesn't it?
Oh, the banjo is the heart of the music. It's everything, that we think about when we think about, the mountains of Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. And Steve Martin, who's been playing the banjo all of his life, and I remember seeing him when I was a small child playing the banjo with Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog.
And he's amazing, and he wanted to make sure that was the heart and soul of the music of this piece.
Well, it is great, and yes, folks, he is here. I've just been hogging up the camera, so now you should see Dr. David on camera here.
Oh, no.
That's right. Yes, it's okay. I mean, you're going to be on camera most of the show, anyways.
How's my hair?
It's perfect. Not a hair out of place.
Good.
That's right. David, you grew up really in theater, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
From the age of 7, growing up in Chicago, and doing shows as a wee little guy, and haven't stopped since. So.
Well, was your mom a stage mom, or?
Nope. My parents knew nothing about theater other than. My dad grew up in New York, so he saw some New York theater. My mom, I don't think, had ever been to an actual play before.
Right.
Of course, we saw movies and things like that, and my mom was a big country music fan, so we went to concerts. But my church youth choir director said, "You've got a pretty voice. Why don't you come down and audition for a show?" And I did, and I ended up with the lead, Oliver, and the rest is history.
Wow. Well, that is pretty interesting as far as that goes. And then, so when it came time to make a life decision, theater was the natural?
Well, By the time I was in high school, I had been doing professional theater for about 10 years and was a veteran of it. But I got interested in science. And science. And I took all of the AP science classes, chemistry and biology, and I was ready to go into pre-med. And I had been accepted at a couple of schools, and that was the path. But something hit me about January of my senior year, and I said, "Oh, I don't know." So I decided to change directions completely, and went out and auditioned for about 12 different collegiate theater programs, and got accepted into all of them. And there I have it. So no more pre-med. Although I had it. I was just talking to a student today, and I said, my sophomore year I had a doubt. So the first 2 weeks of my sophomore year in college, I had 3 different majors because I had doubts about theater, even though I'd been doing it forever. And so within 3 weeks, I switched from theater to pre-med to music, and then back to theater. So
wow.
It was destined. I just had to go through that little growing pain.
And was it a good choice?
Of course.
Of course.
I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah. Well, now you have taught at different schools. Mm-hmm. Where have you taught?
Well, as a graduate student, I taught at Illinois State University and Bowling Green State University while I was working on my graduate degrees. And then my first full-time teaching job was at Blackburn College in Carlinville, Illinois. 500 student school, small program. I did it all. And I happily, in that town, I met my wife. So that was pretty cool. If I hadn't made all those choices, I wouldn't have met her. And then I taught at Waldorf University in Iowa, and that was a 2-man department, so I was moving on up. And then I was chair of theater at Belhaven University in Jackson, Mississippi, and then 6.5 years ago came to Anderson, and have been chair of theater and dance for most of that time.
That's terrific. Now, one of the things that I found interesting in reviewing your background is that it is theater ministry in using a Christian worldwide view through the lens of this. How does that make it different from other schools? I mean, Anderson is that way. Belhaven was that way.
Yes.
Is that way.
Well, first I have to say that the training that we provide our students is no different than the training that you would get at any large state school with a theater program or a dance program. We make sure that our students are wonderful actors and dancers and singers and designers and technicians and stage managers.
They can compete against anybody.
They can compete against any single person out there. But we do it with a Christian worldview. So in our classes, we talk about the negotiations that our student artists have to take when they're out in the secular professional industry, and what are the choices that you have to make to maintain a career, but also how does that affect your faith, and how does that affect your family life, and those choices. And so I think it's the best of both worlds, because our students are nurtured and cared for, but they're still getting that high level training, and so they go out in the world, with a servant's heart, and they go out and do amazing things.
Absolutely. No, I think it's great, and I think actually what we're seeing is more popularity with Christian views on a lot of things that had pretty much gone under the waves. But you're seeing more of this standing up. There's been some great productions in movies and also in plays.
Absolutely, the revival in Christian. High level quality Christian theater, but TV and film has really come on the last few years. My wife and I are huge fans of The Chosen. Wonderful television show, and that entire studio is just doing some really great things. And at Anderson, we're adding more TV, film, more screen classes, and so we want to connect with those people that are making that art.
Oh, well, that is great. So there is nothing like video, right, as far as showing. But so what are you currently working on? You're working on, of course, this right here at Greenwood Community Theater. We're talking with David Sollish about the production of Bright Star. which is coming up, opens this Friday night. But what else? You're doing this, and then I understand you have quite a schedule starting next week.
Well, next week, myself, a couple of my faculty colleagues, and about 30 or so of our students are headed to the campus of UNCG in Greensboro, North Carolina. And that is the regional festival, Region 4 of the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And that is our regional festival for the Southeast, and universities and colleges across, I can't remember how many states, but come together every February for a week and compete in acting, musical theater, design, stage management, directing, choreography, everything that you do in theater. And then the students that are chosen from our festival then in April go on to the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. and compete for scholarships. At the regional level, there's also wonderful cash prizes, which the students appreciate. And they can see shows and go to workshops and network. It's a great time. And then after that, I get back to campus, and we're into rehearsals for Sondheim's Into the Woods, which I'm excited about. That premieres in April, the first week of April. And we're doing, this will be my 8th production of Into the Woods. And so we're doing a little spin on the production. I'm not going to give it away, but we're gonna do something a little different with the production. So I'm excited about that.
You know, as a director, that has to be the most, well, I mean, all parts are interesting in theater, but as far as the power to tweak it and change it and give it your spin on it, has to be a weight, you know, because if it works, that's great. And what if it doesn't?
Yep, absolutely. Especially with a well-known production.
Yeah, and people are looking for that tradition.
Right. Well, I've done, as I said, I've directed, this is my 5th time directing Into the Woods, and I was in 3 productions, and I've always done it fairly traditionally. And we're not gonna go crazy.
Go
no. But I think we're just gonna take a new, put a little new spin on it. My colleagues, my faculty, colleagues at Anderson, we've all talked about the design and how that's going to be implemented. My choreographer and music director, we're all in sync, so we want to create something new because we've all worked on this show at least once, and we want to do something a little different. And we're at the college level where we should be challenging ourselves and our students to do things that are a little outside the box.
That's cool. Now, have you already got the cast over there for this?
Oh, yeah. I've got an amazing cast. They've been in music rehearsals and choreography rehearsals. Well, I've been over here doing Bright Star. But, yeah, phenomenal cast. A lot of seniors that are about to graduate and saying their final goodbye.
Yes.
Yeah. But wonderful cast. And because it's Sondheim and it's so difficult, we have an entire cast and then an entire cast of understudies, just in case. As we learned from the pandemic and everything, we need to have some backups and backups for backups. But we could easily put the understudy cast on and still have a phenomenal production.
Wow.
Because they're just that good.
You know, and, you know, I guess it has to be, as a chair and as a professor, it has to be exciting to see. I mean, there are exceptional students, you know, and to see what happens to those students over the years. Have you had some that you look back on and you go, yeah, I helped give them their start, and look where they're going now?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah?
I take all the credit.
You take all the credit. I love it.
I think all of my students are special, and I'm not just saying that.
Right.
But, you know, I've had students that have gone off that are working in New York on Broadway or national tours or in film and TV. But then I have students that have decided to leave the industry and start families or move into ministry or a myriad of different things.
Sure.
And they found their path. They found the place that they needed to be. And that's just to think that I was a very, very small part of their journey is really amazing. In fact, past December, last month, I officiated the wedding of one of my former students.
Yes.
And that student, after she graduated, had become a family friend, very close friends with myself and my wife and her now husband. But it was such an honor to be at that special moment in her life, in their lives. It's so fulfilling and just heartwarming to know that I have those connections with those students.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. And have you ever had to tell somebody, honey, I don't think this is going to work out for you?
Oh, yes. Yes. Personally, yes, of course. I mean, that's part of what we have to, we have to be honest. But I don't leave it there, right?
You got talents, it's
right.
just not right here.
Let's find the new direction.
Yeah.
And they most of the time they know it. They feel that, and
so it's not a surprise. It's just I had hoped more of a type thing.
Yeah, but most students that come in and they have their heart set on Broadway or what have you, and then they get involved in other parts of theater and backstage or designing or stage managing, and then they feel, you know what, I don't need to perform. This is where I need to go, and so that's what I think my faculty, they do really well is to find those other talents that these students have and then get them in the direction they're going to really excel in.
Now, how many students are in the theater department at Anderson University?
We have 125 majors and then 40 or so minors, and that's across all of our theater and dance programs.
Oh, that's a good size program. Yeah.
When I got here, we had, I think, 85. So we've grown the program over the years.
Well, that's cool. Now, you as a professional actor, you've done some good stuff out there as professional. What was the thing the role, whatever, that you were most excited to be able to play?
Oh, that's a really good question. Oh my goodness. I played Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
So that was pretty great. Amos Hart in Chicago is a small role. It's just a little cameo role with one song, but that was a lot of fun. Probably my favorite role that I've played non-musical would be Mitch in A Streetcar Named Desire. I've played that role twice professionally. But the one role that is still on my list
to get to do,
okay. And I've understudied 3 Broadway actors in this role, but I've never gotten to play it.
You haven't knocked them off yet?
No, well, may they all rest in peace. They're all gone now.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But the role is Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh my goodness!
And that's a role I've wanted to play forever, and I've understudied 3 Broadway actors in that role. I got to go on actually for one act. Okay. But I've never gotten to play the full role or actually have it be my role. Yeah. So that's still on the bucket list.
Still could happen.
Oh yeah. I think I've got a few more years to go.
A few more years?
I hope.
I hope you have a lot of years there, David. But anyways, I think that's great to have goals and everything, but you also directed here for us here in Greenwood, Guys and Dolls.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Guys and Dolls about a year and a half ago.
Right, and then what was that other role you played?
Oh, here?
Yes.
I played Walter Hobbs, Papa Hobbs, in Elf, the musical.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up. People may remember seeing you in that role.
It was so much fun, and that was my first experience with GCT, my first experience in Greenwood.
Right.
And Ryan Hewitt, the artistic director, and Drew Kenyon, who was the guest director for that show, who is an Anderson alumni. They trusted me to come down and do the show, and I had such a wonderful time, made lifelong friends, and many of whom are in Bright Star.
Exactly. Now, how is it, I would be curious as to what you think the progress of Greenwood, since you've been here for this over the coming years. I really think that Greenwood Community Theater constantly challenges and steps it up. What is your opinion as an outside director?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've
and you are getting paid for your role, right? As a director?
Am I allowed to say? Sure, yeah. I don't know. I don't think I've signed a contract.
No. What I meant was, that you have a positive reason to answer positively. But,
well, I have a positive reason to answer positively because it's positive. So I've been, I guess it's been a little over almost 3.5 years since we started Elf rehearsals. And the way that the theater is run by Ryan Hewitt and then Stephen Gilbert and the board is wonderful. They're hiring great artists to come in and guest artists to come in and do some of the work. But I've seen wonderful productions over the last few years, and the seasons are always amazing. They're wonderfully put together. And there are challenging pieces like Bright Star. I know this spot in the season for the past couple of years have been shows a little less known.
Right.
But then the wonderful work that is done with the Penguin Project and all of the children's shows. It's a phenomenal theater, and to have that level of professionalism in a community theater is hard to come by. And
well, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought you would have a better feel for it than I or a lot of other people because you've been in the theater business.
Absolutely. I think GCT is top notch.
Well, I think that is, we'll clip that out and use that next time. Anyways, I do agree, and I think that they do a phenomenal job. I mean, they have to make their own sets. They don't just order a set for this show.
Nope.
They make it themselves, and they do all this stuff from start to finish.
Absolutely.
And Ryan Hewitt, I think, is a true asset to our community.
Well, he's amazing. I said this to the cast the other night, pointed him out, and because he's not only the artistic director and the set for this production, the set designer, the lighting designer, getting the sound effects together, playing the male lead in the show, doing all of the business and publicity with help, obviously. But then he's also raising 2 children,
right?
And has a wonderful wife. So
right.
he's focused on his family and making sure that they get to basketball practice and things. And I don't know where he comes up with all the energy. He's truly phenomenal, and I just thank him for all the work that he's put in to this production and others. He's an asset.
He is definitely, and does it with a lot of class and grace and compassion for working with non-professionals, and I've seen him work with the children in the children's theater and everything, and it is phenomenal. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work
to get people and to have the success and the sellout of the shows that we have right here at Greenwood Community Theater is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So, I wanted to ask you that. And then I want to, when we come back after the break, we are going to be talking more about Bright Star. If you are not familiar with the show Bright Star, we're going to give you some of the backstory to it so you can appreciate it when you come to it. I think you will really find it's a story. I have told several people, David, particularly people that come from adopted families, that this show could be very, very, have a lot of interest to them about how this came together and how it all fell together. It's just I think it's a fabulous story. So anyways, when we come back, we'll be talking about that. Don't you go away. You are right here with us on WCRS. I am Ann Eller. And yes, now, those of you that are on Facebook will hear some musical interlude. And those of you that are on the radio will hear some of our commercials that makes all this possible. So stay right with us right here on WCRS. We'll be back in one moment. Don't you go away.
From WCRS Studios in Greenwood, South Carolina, this is Meet Me at the Diner with your host, Ann Eller.
WCRS Radio, just having a good time talking with Dr. David Sollish right here from Anderson University, the head of the Department of Theater, and he is over here directing Bright Star for us here at Greenwood Community Theater. We've been having a great conversation about David and what he has done, what he continues to do, and he did have some glowing words about Greenwood Community Theater. So we appreciate that very much, David. Now, we are going to talk a little bit now. We want to talk about the production here and what it's taken to put this production together. How the different actresses in it, and the storyline, because a lot of people, as we said, are not familiar with the storyline. So let's talk a little bit about the story. What is the story here?
Oh my! I don't want to give too much away,
right?
But the whole production was built around when Edie Brickell read this really small newspaper article about a paragraph long about a baby that was found in a suitcase. And that
always happens.
I mean, where did I leave my baby? Well,
in a suitcase.
In the suitcase.
Of course.
But and so she wrote a song about it, and it was the Iron Mountain Baby was the legend. And then Steve Martin heard the song, heard the story, and said, "Well, I think we can build a musical about that."
Right.
Well,
right.
I don't know. I'm thinking that's
You're
what he said.
paraphrasing
Right.
it here.
I don't
yes.
know that that's what he actually said. Steve Martin had actually written a Broadway play before, a play called Picasso at the Lapin Agile, which is very funny. So they put together this musical, which has amazing, wonderful country bluegrass, gospel-like music, with a beautiful band with a banjo and strings that just are wonderful, and built this story around this baby in a suitcase. And so the story is over. We see 2 decades. We see the 1920s and the 1940s, and the story surrounds. So they put together Alice, this Murphy. Musical, which has 2 decades. We see the 1920s and the 1940s, obviously, and the story surrounds grown into her adulthood in the 40s, and we see her negotiate some things that sometimes teens get into, which includes unwanted pregnancy. And so we follow her journey and all of the family and the people that she meets, and how her life develops through those years after having lost the baby. Not in that way, but the baby was taken from her. Mm-hmm. And that's about as far as I want to go with that.
But then again, we've got to remember that this was back in the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s.
Right,
the
absolutely.
time frame. And so things were different then.
I'm assuming.
No, but I'm saying that the way that things were dealt
right,
with.
Absolutely,
the things
absolutely.
that were dealt with.
Right, and one thing about this play is that there are 3 very strong fathers in the play. All 3 very different, and they have their own struggles that they're going through. But one of the key moments is that her father makes the decision, because he was the father,
right?
To let the baby be taken, and so then we see her in the 40s as she has grown into an adult with a very powerful position as a writer and an editor, and how she has dealt with that loss over the years, and her relationships with her family and friends. So that's that's the major plot point, and then we have the secondary plot point, which is a young writer who comes from a very small town in North Carolina, and he wants to be a writer, and comes back from the war, from World War II, and does everything that he can do to get to see his dream come true,
Right.
which is where the title comes from, Bright Star, because he sings about finding his bright star or following his bright star.
Right.
And so we see his journey of becoming a blossoming writer, and we also see the small town girl that he had always liked, and how their relationship starts to bloom as they mature. So two major plot points in the play that really go between the 20s and the 40s.
Okay. So, this is what we're dealing with here. And as we talk about this, I don't know why this isn't working right here today, but anyways, it's Facebook Live. So what can I say? It's Facebook Live. You're hearing this, but I will be right back, maybe up there, and I'm not really sure why. But there you are, David.
Hey.
Okay, there you are. So we are talking about Bright Star. Now, the music. How did the music? Why is it a musical?
That's a great question. Do you have Steve Martin's phone number? I think why do most musicals become musicals? Because there's a certain moment in the emotion of the play that the people in that world can no longer just speak what they have to say, what's on their heart, that they have to sing it. And I think the drama. And this is dramatic, but it's also very funny as well. So it's a comedy piece. It's Steve Martin, but I think the drama of what's happening in these people's lives lends itself to being sung and danced rather than just spoken. And I think that's the reason that most musicals become musicals, is because there's just a certain amount of emotional capacity that we can't contain, and so they have to sing and they have to dance. The other reason it's a musical is because I think Steve Martin just wants to get his own music out there. And of course, with his partner, with Edie Brickell, who is a musician herself and a singer, I think they were just looking for a project to work on together and to get it out there.
Well, and when I think, when you think of Steve Martin and his banjo music, what could be more perfect? And then I think about Helene happening and everything. And to have the emphasis on that for this with Bright Star, I think is just that should not be missed on everybody either.
Right. The story is a celebration of the people of Western North Carolina. I mean, we spend our time in Asheville. That's the big city,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the small town called Zebulon, we spend a brief second in Raleigh, not very much, but
Right.
but it's a celebration of those people and their traditions and the stories and the great lives that they have up there. So when that happened, we certainly all thought about that,
Right.
and how can we honor those communities.
And the ending is just such a twist to everything.
It is.
I mean,
It is.
I don't know if it's I think it's pretty close to the very end.
It's pretty close. Yeah.
But the twist to it is you're just going to sit there and go, not I could have had a V8, but I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
It really hits you. So if ever there was a show to go see, and it's been cold, it's been kind of dreary type weather, this is a show to get out and see and celebrate, and to think about what the people have been through up there in the mountains. And because of their tenacity, they are able to survive and they're able to move forward. And I think that's another theme of the show, is the ability to go forth.
Absolutely. I think every character in the show, from the smallest to the major characters, have realizations throughout their journey, and that we see them deal with the adversity, and then, like you said, move forward. They move on, and it all wraps up nice and neatly. Maybe life doesn't do that,
Yeah, right.
but for theater, I think it wraps up, and we
have to get an end to the story.
right. And so this one's a good ending, and I think we all learn a little lesson about that tenacity, about being able to face adversity head on and fight it and move forward.
And it's just like the song said. What does it say? About my story.
If you knew my story, you'd have a hard time.
Right.
Yeah, and then that's what the show is. This show is about storytelling, which Steve Martin,
and goes with the mountains,
with
storytelling,
the mountain, yeah.
and everything.
So that tradition of oral history and storytelling is alive in the way that we do the production. But the first number is If You Knew My Story, and it's the entire community. We don't know who they are yet. We have no introduction to who they are, but it's a community in this area that are coming together, inviting the audience in to listen to the story that they each have to tell. And it's beautiful. I think it's one of the greatest opening numbers in Broadway. And there are a lot of great opening numbers, but to feel connected to the community, not just certain characters, but to the whole group of people telling the story. It's really wonderful.
Not only that, they have to transform themselves into mountain people.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And the accents, they've got to have
Right.
the accents. I've heard some of the accents. They're excellent. They're excellent. Yeah. So when you just think about putting together the production, okay, so that's the people. Now, but let's talk about pulling together a band that doesn't normally perform together. That
Right.
has to have been a challenge, particularly for Matthew, right, Miller?
Right. Matt Miller has done an amazing job music directing this piece because it's not traditional Broadway music. So a lot of our actors have not dealt with country bluegrass singing before. And so he's done a great job at doing that, but then putting the band together. And typically, I think we have 11, 12-piece band. We're at 6 or 7. Please
Right.
don't quote me on that. But they sound great. And the biggest hurdle that we had to overcome was finding that banjo player, because
And here we had a mayor right here.
the banjo is the heart of it, and the strings, and so Matt has done an amazing job in just a few rehearsals putting them together, and so they sound great, and then melding all of our singers and actors together as well, for a really authentic bluegrass sound.
That's true. And the other thing is, the band is right on the stage.
Yes.
They're not down in a pit or something.
Yes, that is one of the things that I love about this show. And when I saw it on Broadway, when I was in it, when I directed it at Anderson a few years ago, and then this version is you have to have a live band and they have to be part of the storytelling. If they're in a pit or you're using tracks, you're not doing it right. And so that was something that when Ryan approached me about directing, he's like, "We're going to have a band," and I said, "Yes, we are." not in a
Like,
smart
no,
way, but
no,
I'm like, yes.
We can't do this show if we don't have a band, right?
And so
Yeah.
yes, the band is right in the middle of the stage. All of the action unfolds around them, and at one point we're in a honky tonk, and so they're part of the action that's happening in that scene. And it's really great to be able to watch those musicians do their work right alongside the actor and not put under the stage or off to the side.
Now, where is Steve Martin from? I have no idea. I mean, he didn't grow up in the mountains or where.
I know that he has a home near Asheville.
Okay.
I don't.
But I mean, you just think about putting this show, writing the show, getting in the character is what I'm talking about. And if you lived there and if you got back in the mountains, you might be able to find that. But some of that, you'd have to do a lot of historical work.
Yeah, and I'm sure that he did that. And probably as he was learning to play the banjo, he heard lots of stories from the people that he'd watch or play with.
Right.
I'm sure that's a big part of it. The funny thing, or not so funny thing, about the script is there is some hokey dialogue.
Right.
And I say that to every cast I work with, and it's Steve Martin one-liners that just get a big old groan. And for some people, they're gonna laugh their Yes.
Their patooties
Their
off.
patooties off.
There you go. There's a good old word.
But you can hear the voice of Steve Martin in a lot of the lines, and I think that's what's fun about the comedic side of the play, is that you never know what a character is going to say, and when they say it, you still don't believe that they said it.
Some people say that about this show. But anyways, well, this is why you need to get your tickets and get them now, so that, because we only have Friday night, Saturday night, 7:30 performance, and then Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. performance.
I don't think we have a matinee on Saturday.
No, is it changed? Oh, okay, or maybe I was wrong. Okay, maybe there's not a matinee.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, anyways, and then next weekend there is the same schedule, and maybe there is not 2 performances on Saturday. Maybe they're only doing 1 performance on Saturday. But I will.
We'll double check.
You'll double check. Okay, we will double check and give you. But you can also call this theater 864-229-5407. 864-229-5704. 864-229-5704 is the theater number. Call them, get your tickets, leave a message. If they're not there, they don't answer, leave a message, and Angela or somebody will call you back to get your tickets. You don't want to miss this show. If you do, you're going to be saying to yourself, why did I miss it? I know there's a lot of things going on, particularly next week. There's a lot of things going on. So you might want to go ahead and get your tickets for this weekend because, like I said, there's a lot going on. But well worth it. I think time is a wasting, so please get your tickets to that. Now, David, as far as you talked about my story, the first song there in Bright Star. Any others that really stand out to you that you really say, wow?
I mean, I think all of the songs are really wonderful. The most famous song in the show, that was, I don't know if it made it to the radio charts, but it was pretty popular when the show first came out. And every woman singer, actor was singing it for an audition, was a song called Asheville.
Right.
And it's about that secondary plot point where the young, well, I think she's 21. She is longing for the unrequited love of the guy, the writer, who's going off to Asheville, to the big city, and she's saying, "Come back, come back." Yeah.
I love the part where she says, "And I'll hear your 1934. Wait for your 1934 car to come
down the road." Yeah. So that's a wonderful song. There's a beautiful, at the beginning of Act 2, there's a wonderful song called "The Sun Is Going to Shine Again," and it's very hopeful and positive after what happens at the end of Act 1, which we won't talk about. And then there's a beautiful gospel number called "At Last," which is near the end of the show, sung by the Alice, played by Lauren Strickland, who's absolutely amazing. And that song gets me every time. It's so hopeful, but it's just heartwarming, and I always have tears after hearing that song every time. But I think every song in the show has really wonderful music and fun lyrics, well, poignant lyrics, and all put together. It's a great show.
It is a great show, and we are. I think that, David, you bring a unique perspective when you come down here to direct. Everything that you've done here, well, this will be the second show. Guys and Dolls was fabulous.
Thank you.
That was my first working with you on this, and it was just came together, and some of the little quirks that were in the show were just great. And I know that if you've never seen Bright Star, this is your opportunity to be able to say, I saw Bright Star, and now understand the story. And the very fact that it is in relationship to Hurricane Helene, what the people have gone through up there, and just really brings it. But you got to remember, it's back in the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, because I've talked to some people about the show. And because they were my friends, I was telling them a little more than we're going to let on right here. And they would go, "Oh, my God, that was horrible." And I said, well, Yes,
Yeah.
but it was back in the 30s, and so things were a little different.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
very true.
I mean, I can use a story, a personal story. I had an older brother that had Down syndrome, and they were just given up for adoption. There was, and today we raise them in our family.
Right.
So if you just look at something like that, baby in a suitcase may not seem so out there, really.
Right.
Yeah. So life changes, and thank goodness it does. But I think thank goodness that we have stories like plays and movies and whatnot that remind us about the past, because don't you think that history is such an important thing that we have a tendency to overlook?
Absolutely. I think history is one of the most important subjects that a student can study, because we have to know what has come before us to make what comes ahead of us better.
Yes. And if we don't, we're
going to make the same mistakes
mistake again. Yep. Yes, that's what they say, and I think we've seen that come true.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an absolutely phenomenal experience to have you on. I am so glad you came down. You have got to go see the show Friday night, Saturday night for sure, Sunday matinee for sure.
Yes.
And
The next week, Friday night.
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday matinee on the second weekend.
Oh, on the second weekend. Okay. And so the last show will be a week from this Sunday. So you don't have a lot of opportunity to see it, but you will be able to come to the theater. I think now you said Ryan was the set designer. Did he?
Yes.
I mean, I thought the set design is very unique.
It is. Set and props. So Ryan designed the set. We had one of my former students, Alexis Moorhead, come in to do the set painting. And then all of our props, everything's minimal. And there's no realistic part of the set. So all of the props that we use, the furniture, the set itself, is to suggest our location so that we really focus on the storytelling and on the music. And that's intentional.
Okay. All right. So it's minimalist for a reason.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Minimalist, but also there's a lot there. Effective. Yeah. There's spectacle. In the lighting's really wonderful, and Ryan did that as well.
Yes. So this is what you're going to be in for a treat for. It's the first show of Greenwood Community Theater's season, and it's a good one. I hope you're going to get tickets. Again, 864-229-5704. That's 864-229-5704 is the telephone number to the theater. Tickets are very affordable. You don't want to miss it. And I think we ought to mention just this one piece, because I saw a little story about this. Ryan and Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Her first show, their first show. I saw a clip on Facebook about
10 years ago or something.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Footloose, I believe it was.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And so full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's neat.
It is.
And you only find that in community theater. It's so cool to see those the people that come through and mature and then you find your love interest again.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think has been interesting is for the last, you could say the last 6 years, but the last 3 years for sure, they have had a whole group at Greenwood Community Theater that was in high school, and they graduated, and now they've all gone off to college, all doing good things. Amazing to see the change and to see other people step right up and come right in.
Absolutely. That's what it's about.
And I think that is terrific. So you have got to support Greenwood Community Theater. Why? Because we want to have a theater here, and it is such a vital part of our community.
Yes.
David, anything else you'd like to say as we finish up?
I will say that Bright Star is one of the most fun times I've ever had on stage as an actor and also as an audience member. Come out, don't miss it. You're going to toe tap your way out the door.
Okay, so toe tap your way right out of this interview, and that's what we're going to do. So everybody, thanks for tuning in this afternoon. You've been listening to WCRS right here in Greenwood. I am Ann Eller. Make sure you make it out this coming Friday. This coming Friday is opening night. Make sure you're there, if not Saturday night or Sunday at 2 p.m., and then, of course, the following weekend. That's going to do it for us. This is WCRS Radio. Bye-bye, everybody. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.